This should be a counter if he ever posts this.
Actually, it should be, yeah. Because
How many times?
it's usually the joke that that the counters for how much I think, because sometimes I take a long time to think with some decks. Yeah. But I think in this one, it should just be how many times I shuffle my deck.
Hey everyone, this is Curb, and I bring you another standard match. Today on the left, we are actually featuring a deck we haven't really seen on the channel ever, that being Aelquilibria. This deck came out all the way back in set 4, but no one's really played it for the channel. I know it was like mildly popular back in set 4, but you know, props to anyone who is still playing this deck in set 6. Speaking of decks that we haven't featured on the channel, we do actually have Eledglema, or the Bat deck as people mostly call it, over there on the right. So this deck is obviously going to be, well, we're just going to see what it does this game. Bat tends to go one of two ways. Most of the times it just like auto kills you if it sees lots of pizzas, and other times it kind of just flops over and dies. But unfortunately it is fairly consistent, at least consistent enough to get several tops. So might be the only Bat content we have on the channel, because like the gameplay is pretty similar regardless of how, you know, regardless of whatever you're playing up against. Anyways, we do see the Ava ride line being played here. You basically just play the Ava or the Archetype ride line you go to. It's like basically exactly the same thing here. But we do see a couple of effects being procced here. Shuffling deck already 3 times on our first turn. Basically just searching out the grade 1 set order, playing it, checking top 5 to put something into the set order or add something to hand. Actually, it's hand and then drop, and then of course, you know, using the tech hand once again. We see the first drive check actually being hitting an over trigger, which is actually pretty good. I guess there's a good reason we didn't OT to pass that. Most of the time against Bat, what you should be doing is trying to reduce as much damage as you can take in the early game. Obviously, even if we had OT to pass there, that would have been a very good idea. So, you know, actually not committing the guard there paid off somehow. But anyways, Equilibria doing pretty typical Equilibria things here, calling out a full board. Interestingly enough, we're not going to be committing both of our counterblasts to this one grade 1 guy here. We're going to use one, just because we kind of just threw everything up onto the board. What's this guy called? Ideal. Going to counterblast one, draw a card, and then soul charge. We do have 2 counterblasts, so theoretically you could just do that. I think you do that just because you need as many cards as you can in this matchup if you want to be able to guard anything. So we're going to swing in 18. No drive off that check, so no drive, no trigger off that check. Unfortunately, just hitting into a order card, which is definitely not going to be helping in this matchup. Swinging the 16-16, pushing 2 more damage to Eledglema. So definitely one of the strategies you can have against Eledglema is to kind of just rush them down and kill them as quickly as possible. Get yourself to a point where they only have 1 turn to go into the grade 3, because although they draw a ton of cards, you do need to remember that like the deck plays mostly non-shield. They play maybe like, let's see, there's Tectan, there's a promo, and then there's like Moe Flash and the other. So there's like 5 cards in your deck that actually have shield, aside from triggers. So you do have a decent chance if you do kind of just rush them down to close out the game as quickly as possible. The other strategy is kind of grinding them out, which some decks can do, but otherwise is, you know, somewhat difficult to do. Anyways, using these, I believe we're playing the second research order, going to be, is that putting the Moe Flash into the order zone and then discarding the Persona Ride? Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think it goes to the order zone. I'm pretty sure you add one to hand and then you ditch another one. So of course, just shuffling up that deck there. So once again, like Eledglema doesn't really have much to do in the early game. Like all their pieces are kind of locked to, you know, being the grade 3 Vanguard. But you know, once those pieces do come out, it is very, very scary. Swing and pass, swinging in at the Vanguard, which is definitely fine. Like the more damage your opponent is at when you're playing that deck, the easier it's going to be to kill them. Looks like we're going to hit them with the 2 to pass. We're going to see a front off the top, which is not going to do anything. There was maybe an argument to swing it at a rear guard, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. We've got 23 guarding it anyway. But as we're going to ride into Equilibria, hopefully we can put out enough power here in order to, you know, actually, you know, kill Bat on this turn. But there's the deck does definitely have a sizable hand. We saw a front trigger there, and he's only at 2 damage. So like our chances of actually killing this turn are, it's not impossible. Like if you throw up like double crit and they no guard the Vanguard, you might be able to just win here. But at the same time, you know, it's still very early on, and typically Vanguard games aren't really determined that quickly. So looks like we're just calling a board here, calling out the Searcher. Unfortunately, we're just like overcalling, which definitely hurts a little bit. Like it's not uncommon for Equilibria to do that. They kind of just spit out their board and then replace it with better boards. Anyways, this grade 2 lets you check top 5 and then search for something, and then you add it to soul, or you add it to hand and discard something. It's something like that. It kind of reminds me of those the double rares that Vermilion and Maelstrom got. Once again, going to overcall with the Shahoob there, which is kind of unnecessary in one sense because you can't actually get your 4 attacks. You can't restand him because your opponent is not on grade 3 yet. But he is still a pretty big attacker. He gets an extra 5k when you have the overcharge units. So going to be Soul Blasting the 2, choosing 3 things to overcharge, giving them the 5k. Interestingly enough, we're going to give the 5k to the Vanguard booster, which kind of seems a little excessive to me. Like, yeah, maybe your other column's already pretty big, but, you know, I don't think your Vanguard needs to be any more swole than it already is. But, you know, just going to start swinging in. I think what we're trying to do here is restand the rear guard, but then we didn't realize that it is actually grade 3 locked. So we're just going to swing in at the Vanguard for a total of 46. Like, even if you, without the extra, basically 15k, I think you're still hitting for a pretty decent number at 31. At that point, it's mostly just like PG it, because no one's going to commit like 2 cards anyway. So we're going to go ahead and drive check here. We're taking the Vanguard. Unfortunately, we only see a PG and like a 5k shield there. PGs are nice to have against Bat, but effectively they don't really do as much as you would like them to. So we're going to swing in here with that 33, I believe. Most of these will just get like an extra 10k when they are selected by Aelquilibria's skill. Alright, so it looks like we are going to be taking this. We do get a defensive trigger here, as we're going to swing our last attack, and we only hit it for 28. Going to be easily blocked with a 15k trigger there, plus that defensive. Like I said, if we had seen like a crit there, and you know you had actually overcharged your rear guard instead of your Vanguards, you probably could have closed things out, possibly, or at least have been in a better situation. Looks like Equilibria really doesn't have that many cards in hand, and you might think they're like okay being only at 2, but the fact that like Bat kind of pushes a ton of damage on each of its turns kind of means that being at 2 is sometimes just a death sentence, especially if you don't have a lot of good cards to guard within your hand. But of course we do see riding into the Bat here, and we are going to be using its skill, of course. Checking the top, let's see, top 7 or something. Oh no, it is just top 5, and you gotta put any number of orders that you see them into your order zone. Looks like we did kind of low roll there. We only hit the 1 order, but this is the point where it gets where this deck kind of just becomes, I guess, a little autopilot. You kind of just fill up your order zone with as many set orders as you can. As we're going to draw 1, discard 1, and actually discard out the dog order there, the Welstra thing, which of course is going to activate the skill to put itself into the order zone. So that is now 4 set orders with a total of 3 different names. Now we do have the boogeyman of this deck, that being the Moe Flash, revealing at least 3 set orders with different names. And retiring him is going to allow you to put all those set orders into the order zone and kind of just force you to trigger all of their effects at the same time. Almost forgetting to energy charge here. Not that it really matters. There's like 1 card that uses energy, and realistically, Eledglema is a deck that only uses 3 to 6 energy per turn. Although it's probably more like 6 to 9, honestly, because you're always restanding a rear guard, and that rear guard that you restand tends to use energy. So we're going to be activating a couple effects here. Ravage Dock, since it was put into the order then, lets you draw a card. We did put 2 of those. We're going to draw 2 cards. Looks like we're drawing and discarding 1 off of the experiment. Successful. I believe we should be getting a Shadow Army token here. That Meteor doesn't let you draw a card since it was put by Moe Flash's effect and not Elegma's. It does have to be put by a Vanguard's effect. Next, we're going to be triggering that Blue Research Lab, checking those top 5 cards of the deck, and then calling out. We're seeing the Arcade promo. I always forget what this thing is called here. But it's a pretty useful card for tutoring out a lot of the cards in your deck. Like you can put a Moe Flash from your drop zone to your order zone, and then that card lets you call it back out. Or if you're missing the other guy, was it named Jaggy Tooth or something? I feel like that's a different card, but anyways, not sure what we're doing there. We put a card from our set order into the drop. I don't know. We discarded for something, but we're also going to be, let's see, getting another Meteorite off of the Tectan. I think we just discarded a Tectan for something. Don't remember what. I was definitely not paying attention. But it's going to allow us to add another set order there. Of course, if we wanted to set it, we do need to actually get another Moe Flash, who is not a once per turn. Oh, actually, we just play it. My bad. And it looks like we're actually just soul charge off that. We did draw a card off the Moe Flash, and there is the Boogeyman himself, the guy that gets the extra critical, going to let you just like, it is honestly like your biggest kill potential. That grade 2 rear guard, if you're ever going up into that grade 2 rear guard is your the most threatening card, just because it stacks its own crit. So if you do want to try and counter this deck, I guess what you can do is play some of those counter crit heals, because that thing does get like an extra 10k every time it swings, making it pretty threatening. But it does also cast Counterblast, so there is some like damage denied lanes that also could potentially work. But honestly, just going into bat is just like a crapshoot. You kind of just have to hope that they whiff. And quick update on those set orders. Looks like we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, which should be is that 9? There's probably like 10. But that's definitely going to be enough for at least one restand, because you do have to shuffle 5 cards with different names. But looks like we're going to be using the other skill of the experiment successful. Oh, his name's Jumbo Crusher. There he is. Just swinging in for 20k. Probably the easiest attack to guard here. This is like a 10k, but we're looking at Aelquilibra's hand. Looks like it's 4 cards, so this is not really looking that great. We probably just like intercept 5k this, just because it's a pretty threatening attack here. We're just gonna take it. There is definitely some validity, because the biggest way to survive an Elegma turn is to get multiple defensives. But looks like we're actually going to be taking this first one. We do get at least 1 defensive, which is nice, and that helps a little bit. But at the end of the day, now you're at 4, and you realistically can't take any more attacks. I suppose what you can do is, if the opponent doesn't get a critical trigger off of their drive check, that means that they can't actually, you can just take the next Vanguard swing. But if they do get one, that basically means there's 1 more attack that you can take. Of course, that being the promo there, making it that much harder to guard everything, because you know you're relying on defensives. Looks like we're gonna throw down a 5k guard here to make it 20 for a 2 to pass. As we flip over double triggers here, one of them being a critical and the other being a heal. Heal is pretty big because it does kind of allow Elegma to live another turn, assuming that they don't actually kill this turn, as we're going to be putting 5 different names, put them back into the deck, restand the Jumbo Crusher as well as the Vanguard. So with that double trigger, not only does that give an extra crit to the Vanguard, but it also gives another 10k, making it that it can hit over defensives. Which is, you know, actually not the end of the world, because like at the end of the day, that's still a 5k guard. But remember that is 2 more 5k guards you're going to have to commit to that Vanguard, as this Jumbo Crusher is now swinging in for 40k with triple critical. It's skill giving another critical. You're only at 23k, so you need a 20k guard here, but it looks like we don't have it. Obviously, we only have like 2 cards in hand, or 3 cards in hand, so we're just gonna have to PG that. But if you can count the number of set orders in the order zone, that is 6 there. So I guess we started with 11, so they are going to be able to restand the entire front row here, as we're going to intercept in order to block that. Like I said, that's going to be pretty good. We have 1 card left in hand, which is unfortunately not going to be enough. Swinging in this Jumbo Crusher, we don't even need to use the skill again, because it's already at 40k. And if this doesn't kill your opponent, you have the Vanguard swing to kill their opponent. But looks like that is going to connect, and that is going to be the end of the game. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to do those YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next one.